stream this broadcast on our YouTube channel, that is iRadio South Sudan. If you have questions about adolescent health, send us an email to youthzone72@gmail.com or call 0922 009497. We also have 2 hotlines and they are toll free. So if you want to report on GBV, you can call 623. And if you want to report on adolescent health immediate, you can call 885. Well, as part of our continued coverage on the Youth Month, today we look into youth policies. Youth legislations play a crucial role in shaping the future of a nation by addressing issues relevant to young people, such as education, employment, health, and civic participation. The enactment of such legislation often faces challenges, including lack of awareness and limited youth engagement. Today, the Zone 72 highlights different youth legislations that needs to be enacted, and these bills are the National Youth Development Policy, Youth and Women Enterprise Development Fund. We have the Student Support Fund Bill and the Student Welfare Bill and Youth and Sports Bill. And to shed more light on the topic today, I am joined in the studio by Florence Agiba Richard, who is Secretary for Research and Planning at the South Sudan National Youth Union, and she's also a youth leader and advocate. I'm also happy to have with me Patrick Godi, who is a youth leader, political and security advisor, and Godi is also a member of the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, that is RJMEC, representing youth. And also have with us in the studio Daniel Mwaka, who is the founder of the Youth Empowerment Organization and the host of the Daniel Mwaka Show. Good evening.
Good evening.
Gentlemen and lady.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, it's good to have 3 of you on the Zone 72. Yeah, moving on with our discussion, let me start with Florence. So South Sudan has several youth-centered policies currently in development, pending enactment. So could you walk us through what these policies are, their core objectives, and what stage is each at right now?
Thank you so much. We're pleased to be here. Quickly, I'll just take you through some of the documents that are there for the young people. I'll start with the national policy, the development policy for the youth. It has been there for almost 14 years, and there's been a whole back and forth. But right now it's at the parliament. It's awaiting the second reading so that it can be passed. Then we have the Enterprise Development Fund for the youth. As we speak, it is at the Ministry of Justice. It is awaiting the Council of Ministers to start so that it can move forward. Then we have the Student Support Fund. That bill is currently, it was at the Council of Ministers before it stopped. So we believe right now it's at Dr. Elia Lomoro's office. Yes.
Okay. The cabinet ministry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, Patrick, if you can also tell us what practical steps that you think must be taken and by who to ensure that these policies move, as she said, from the offices to become a law and then implemented.
Well, thank you for that question. I think what my colleague Florence Agiba has hinted on, that some of these policies have taken so long, dating back to 2011. Actually, if I could speak briefly about the South Sudan National Youth Policy, we could say that it was conceptualized in 2007 when our country was still a semi-autonomous region within the broader Sudan. So you can see already that there are challenges when it comes to moving forward youth legislations or policies that are friendly towards empowering young people in the country. Some of the challenges that, of course, we have seen is that I could say maybe from the broader scope of things is the conflicts that have persistently happened. The 2013 conflict disrupted the traction in terms of the movement of the South Sudan National Youth Policy, because all the efforts and the priorities of the government shifted from policy making towards how can we secure the state, how can we ensure the continuity of the ruling government. But for us as young people who have been passionate about, and we see the dividends that some of these policies could bring in terms of changing the lives of young men and women in this country, have always pushed and said, yes, we might be in a state of conflict, but this shouldn't stop the government's focus in trying to see within its limited means how it can extend support to ensure that young people, those who are facing challenges, whether it's the lack of opportunities like jobs or underemployment, or even, for instance, we have so many young people who have entered into entrepreneurship, and there's really so many problems that they face. We believe that with the government stepping up, especially through a guided framework, which the policy, I think, sets the basis for that, it could help in transforming, including the conflict cycles that we have been embedded in since 2013. So some of the issues also that have delayed this, of course, have to come from among the youth themselves. We have seen that many times the youth policy has, for instance, gone to the extent of being validated and tabled before the parliament. But what we see is a reverse of all these efforts that have been made. I think if I can say the last validated youth policy was in 2019, instead of it making its way to the parliament and going through the 3 readings before being tabled before the president for signature into law, we saw that groups of youth did raise concern about how inclusive, for instance, the consultations which led to that validated document were held, and therefore they requested for further discussions and consultations to ensure that the policy was able to capture as many diverse voices of young people at the time. But what that actually did is it slowed down. It took us back to square one, where you have to review everything. And I think it's important to note that policymaking is really a very expensive business, because the moment partners put money, you know, whether it's to get the task force that was entrusted with these consultations to move around the country, it's really hard to get them again to put the same level of resources and even the kind of political will. You've seen how there's frequent changes within the government structures itself. So it means with every change, with every process being reset, you have to go back to the drawing board and begin afresh. And I think this has also held us back in terms of saying that some of these policies could be translated from ideas to real documents that whether it's the ministries or development partners and other youth interested organizations can fully maximize on the framework that they provide for a holistic and integrated development of young people.
Okay. All right. Daniel, I also want to hear from you. What steps do you think that should be taken and by who to ensure that these policies are enacted into laws and also implemented?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think there are several steps that should be taken. And one of the steps that should be taken, it should be the youth. Youth have to ensure that they demand for these policies to be passed by the parliament and can be enacted into law. And a lot of young people are not aware of these policies. You see, so there's need that not only the youth in Juba should know about this, but the youth, all corners of South Sudan, the youth have to understand these policies so that they can demand that if these policies are passed, it is in the favor of the young people. It will empower young people to become to maybe to run their businesses, to participate in nation development, to take charge of their lives. So this is one thing that we need to do, and they cannot demand for it if they are not aware of some of these opportunities that will come with these policies. And two, I think sometimes we tend to be so hard as well at this point, we don't need to be very hard. We need to see how can we influence the process. How can we engage the key stakeholders to ensure that these policies are passed? And by influencing them, I mean, how can we really engage these people one-on-one and talk to them and explain to them the importance of these policies if they are passed? And some of the ministers, well, they are aware of the policies, but do they understand really if these policies are passed, it will make their work more easier? It will create the youth busy. Youth will be focusing on different aspects of their lives, and this will empower the young people so that not to focus only on the government. Instead of opportunities, youth will be able to open their own businesses, enter into different fields, so that it will take the burden of unemployment from the government as well. So the government. The government officers that are responsible for this should also know that. And two, we need also pressure from the organizations, like youth-led organizations, to voice this, and also international partners to talk about this, because these policies, it is something that is very crucial. Most of the countries in the world, they have their policies, and the policies are really creating a very good impact in the life of young people. And I think also if it comes to the worst, which I pray that we don't get there, we really need to put a very strong demand that this has to be passed. If it's not passed, then we have other options at hand as young people, and tell the government that, you cannot be playing with our future for up to this time. It has been long playing with our future. We need to get hold of our future and save this country. And by saving this country is only by empowering young people, by passing these policies that will transform their lives. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Now, moving on to look at the National Youth Development Policy. Florence, what are the key gaps that you see in the current youth policy framework, and how should the National Youth Development Policy address them?
So the National Development Policy, as it is, I don't think it has a lot of gaps, because people have worked on this document time and time again. And the reason it has delayed to be passed up to now is because everyone keeps thinking we need to have new ideas, put in the document. So this document, I feel maybe the only thing we can add is the aspect of refugees, because we do have young refugees in the country. But apart from that, I feel the document is rich enough, and I need everyone to understand that there is no perfect law. No country has a perfect law. All laws get reviewed, get amended, and all that. Yes. So what we need right now is a working document. So a lot of opportunities the youth are missing is because this particular policy is not in place. This document stipulates the age of the youth. It defines who a youth is, and because the definition for young people is not there, then any other person can claim the space of young people. This document looks at all the issues that the youth are facing and comes up with solutions, and even gives responsibilities on who should do what when it comes to supporting young people. It further goes on to also explain the rights and duties of youth in the country. So this document is very important, because at the end of the day, it even supports our engagements in the region. So when you look at the IGAD policy, when you look at the African Union Youth Charter, all of them they tell us we must have a policy in place. And this is why we are asking our government, please enact this document for us already. It's too late.
Okay. All right. And Daniel, do you think that the voices of the youth were meaningfully integrated into drafting of the policy and the other policies that is concerned of youth issues? And if yes, how? And also if no, how can their voices be integrated, not only in writing, but also the implementation process?
Yeah, I would agree that the voices of the youth have been integrated in this, because during the consultations, I remember a lot of people went to the states as well, and deep inside the states, and some of these people represent the people of South Sudan. Though also I would say perhaps maybe we cannot consult every young person in this country. There are some people that represent a group of young people that were consulted, and I believe that their voices have been captured. And of course, as Florence said, you cannot. There's no perfect law. Yeah. So the gaps that have been seen maybe or will be identified in the future, we can always amend them and ensure that it capture the voices of all the young people. I just wanted to refer to Florence said we request. I think at this point we're not requesting the government. We're not asking them. We have to demand.
Yeah.
We have to demand them, ensure that these policies are passed. The issue of begging them, it's our policy. It's not theirs. So we have to demand them and ensure that they pass this policy. And of course, the most beautiful thing is when they were presenting these policies, I happened to attend several of these discussions, and there were very beautiful voices from young people, even at the cattle camps, even as far as Upper Nile. The young people who are really very confident and they see hope in these policies, that if it is passed, it is something that will really create a very big influence, positive influence in their lives. So I feel everyone has been represented. Though some people say, there are always issues that come in, but I agree that most of the young people, their voices have been captured in this policy. Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Yes.
Most of the documents we're talking about are okay. The only document that may have issues, that we actually do have issues with, is the Youth and Sports Bill.
Yes.
That document, we really need it reworked and we really need it separated. Because when we went through that document, we just saw that it doesn't capture so much about the youth, but it clearly talks about sports.
Yes.
Everything about sports is detailed.
Yeah.
But things about youth, Sibukid Al-Kefa.
Yeah.
But when young people are not organized, it's difficult for anyone to come and support them. So
Sure.
we really want that document to be taken back to the Ministry of Youth and Sports, separated. And then we can now do enough consultations on how we want it to look like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we should have a separate sport bill.
Yeah, sport bill different, youth bill different.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, Godi, when we talk about now the rolling out of the policy, what mechanisms do you think should be put in place to ensure accountability and transparency as well?
Well, I think that is very important. And what we see with all these policies actually is they're supposed to be phased, in the sense that you have a policy, say maybe for 5 years, and there has to be a review process. First of all, to allow for learning on the practicalities of its implementation. And I think that's where your earlier question, Johnson, where you asked Florence and Daniel about the gaps. Because before you try something, before you roll it out, it's difficult for you to identify that it has some errors or some mistakes which need to be corrected. I think for me, this is my stand always, that we can never have a perfect document if we're not implementing it. Implementation allows for that learning to take place, and we can improve on the areas of weaknesses. So coming to your question about the mechanisms for rolling it out, I think speaking to the broader vision of the intended purpose of these policies is, one, provide a holistic, integrated development for young people in the country. And that cannot be achieved as a sole responsibility of one institution, not even the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So there has to be, from the government level, we'll expect, for instance, an interministerial committee at the cabinet level that works on ensuring that implementation of those provisions take place. And I think with the interministerial committee, it does provide that political kind of support in terms of including generating resources for its implementation. But also it's important to have a technical committee at the level of the ministries, because these are the individuals or group of people within the government who will be charged with the day-to-day running of the implementation process, but also providing that oversight and also providing the room for collaboration with other youth-related parties that will want to be interested in its implementation. Thirdly, I think you cannot neglect the South Sudanese youth themselves. So it will be important to have a forum where you bring on board, for instance, the National Youth Union, you bring together young people in the civil society and other different youth-led organizations to be part and parcel of implementation and coordination itself, because some of these organizations that are led by young people, they work on different areas. You have those who are more interested in health, you have those who are more interested in economic aspect of things. There are those who really want to work so much in governance. So this forum will provide that broad space for different actors to come together based on the area of focus, and they can also be able to report back to the young people on the challenges that they face in whatever area of implementation that they are focused on. Lastly, I think you cannot have a policy and you fail to have a feedback mechanism, because we, for instance, here are youth leaders. We have a responsibility to be accountable to the millions of other South Sudanese who are not in the position like we occupy today, because it's their interest that in the first place enable us, including to come to the radio like this to speak, to engage with the government and so many other agencies that are interested in youth development. So there has to be a transparent mechanism through which we reach out to the young people across the country. And I think social media, for instance, provide a very good opportunity to reach young people in their millions. And also having radio talk shows like yourself, iRadio is widely covered across South Sudan. So that gives an opportunity to tell young people about the progress, whether it's on the issues we'll have agreed on. For instance, for a long time we have been pushing to have a youth quota in terms of inclusion and participation within the government. Through that, we'll be able to report to them that, your representatives who have been included in the government, this is how far they have pushed, for instance, the youth agenda. This is how those of us who are involved in the implementation of the current peace agreement are performing. I think that will address one key gap which I have seen with a lot of our youth organizations or leadership, which is the fact that we sort of lack that core constituency among young people, because that interaction, that mechanism for us to have back and forth engagement has largely been missing, and that has to do sometimes with how we are centered more in Juba, and therefore people say in Tonj, in Kajukeji, in very far areas feel they are not part of these processes. So that will be key in addressing during the rollout process.
Okay. All right. Now, looking at the Youth and Women Enterprise Development Fund, Florence, how do you envision this fund empowering young entrepreneurs, especially women?
Thank you so much. The Youth and the Women Enterprise Fund, this emerged from the R-Axis, Chapter 4 of the R-Axis, and also the student support is in the R-Axis. So these calls are the calls that young people and the women can try to benefit from the piece of the R-Axis if implemented. So these we have documents already, the bills that we're pushing for. For the youth and the women, they're all at the Ministry of Justice, and they seem to be fine. No, they don't have a lot of gaps. So what these documents are supposed to do are supposed to support people start up businesses or businesses that are already in existence, for people to get capital to start up their own enterprises in the country. So if we have these documents in place, we've seen a lot of people wanting to support women and youth entrepreneurs in the country. So this document directs on how this can be possible. So it calls for commissions to be formed, and in those commissions there are people that will be there, and how money can be given to people and how the money can come back and the interest rates and all that. So if we do have this in place, one, when it comes especially to the young people of South Sudan, we will these gang groups will reduce, because people will now be able to have some money to start businesses. And when young people have businesses, you know, the young people, the youth, are the largest population in this country. So imagine a huge population giving taxes back to the government. Will the government still have these economic issues? No, this would be capped down. So if young people are given these monies, we will see a lot of growth, development happening all over. Most of the challenges that we're having in the country right now is because there's no money and young people are not getting the kind of support that they need. So we would see at least some sustained peace in this country if this is in place. And I know right now the government is worried because they're seeing funds and they know that, you know, the government has to put in some money for this to happen. But let's remember, 2 years ago, EU was giving the youth a lot of money. The problem is, how do we channel this money to come down to the beneficiaries? And this is the document that is going to guide that. So we're calling for these legislations to be enacted such that people can get this support and start businesses, so that we can see some changes in the country. Also for the women, we know women are vulnerable because they're not empowered financially. So women get in relationships that they cannot live because they're asking themselves, ana kantala minini ana biroa wen, ana bibada kef, ana baki liyalta kef, you know. So when they are empowered, if they have their own businesses, or can decide on their kuntaila, or can der tebejat fisuk, whatever she wants to do with that money, she will be empowered, and she cannot be in places where she'll be beaten all the time. So the rate of GBV will go down. And also, you know, as a human capital, we will see these women also contributing to the country, to the economy. So if women are approximately 70 or 80% in this population, look at this economy. It would be very strong.
Okay. Yes, sir. Daniel.
I want to add. I think we're supposed first to understand the key components of this of the national development youth development policy. One of the component is youth empowerment. The core principle is to empower youth by enabling them to participate and take control of their lives. That's one. So the second one is education and literacy. That means we'll give opportunity for a lot of young people to get the education and training, especially let's talk of training for those who have not gone to higher institutions. And we talk of peace and governance. You see, when young people are encouraged to participate in peace building, we will have a very safe society. And now economic opportunities, this is where the issue of the gang groups comes in. It's very important that when these young people are empowered economically, we won't be having this issue of robbing somebody in the night, thinking of joining these armed groups so that you can lay ambush on the road, because you're already economically empowered. You will be, your mind will be preoccupied doing other things. So I think anybody who's against this this policy, this is somebody who's against the future of South Sudan. It's against South Sudan, in fact. And one more important thing, and I want to make this very clear, that if the revitalized peace agreement fails, some of these policies have failed. And this call for the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement to ensure that some of these policies are attached to the agreement. So if that agreement fails, that clearly shows that we might not have these policies in place. That means we have to start it all over again. So, and to talk to Ajiba, women need to be empowered. But nowadays, I think women are more important than the gentlemen. Yes, I think women are more important. It is now women who are feeding their families. You see?
Which is a good thing.
It's a good thing, yes. I'm happy. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Women, it seems women are more empowered. You see? And of course, we have a lot of international partners, as you said before, who really want to come and invest in young people. But they don't know, how can we invest in young people? Where is the money going? Will the money be well kept? Are they not going to swindle the money? You see, I remember African Development Bank gave a lot of money to UNDP for skilling of the youth of South Sudan. I don't know how far with that. And also, this goes to the government. Our government are so much reluctant. This money comes in the name of the youth of South Sudan, or the name of South Sudan. But our government, are they following this money? Are they following that the money is being implemented and injected in the life of the young, of the youth of South Sudan? So this also goes back to the government. They should follow every dollar that is being donated in the name of South Sudan, so that it goes direct to the young people. We have been hearing a lot of aid being given, a lot of money has been given here and there, but does that translate to the lives of the youth of South Sudan? We are still struggling. Where is the money going? So this is something that we need to find out as well.
Yeah. Also, Daniel, I want to know from you, how can media platforms like yours help raise awareness and also educate young people on accessing and also utilizing this fund effectively?
Yeah, just like iRadio, I want to appreciate the management of iRadio, because I've been following this program for a long time, and iRadio covers various places, so people listen to us. And I think such platforms like the Daniel Show that I host, mine is a live audience. When I bring a speaker in the house, there are people that I have to ask them questions, and mostly I always bring this government, those who are in charge, those who are holding responsibility, so that we ask them direct, and they have to tell us what is really happening. So I think the media platforms, we are in a digital era. We are talking here, somebody might be in Kajukeji listening to what we are saying here. So I think it plays a big role. And how do we use the media? It should be a positive way of sending information. Because I read somewhere the same issue of national youth policy, just because somebody is against the national youth development policy, he wrote something very negative about it. You see, these young people that are here making noise on the national youth development policy. You see, this is somebody who's not well informed. So if you're well informed, there's nobody on earth who will deny this bill from being passed. You see, so it's about the information. We have to educate people to understand exactly what do we mean by these policies, and you don't just hear about it and start opposing it. So you have to understand it, read through it, and digest it, and focus and try to imagine, if these policies are implemented, how is it going to change the lives of young people? We're not talking about myself. In a few years, I will not be a youth anymore. But I want those who are coming after me to get these policies in place so that they can be empowered and they transform this country. The young people, we are the changers, the change makers of this country. So the moment, if this generation is destroyed, we don't have another future. And I'm very, very sad, because the young people are coming, the Niggers groups, the Torontos, we don't have a future if we don't invest in these young people. And I urge the government to ensure that they come with the serious programs that engage young people and empower them financially. Otherwise, we are losing a generation to alcohol, to unemployment, to robberies, to a lot of dirty things that's going to happen. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Godi, I want to hear from you from the governance and security perspective. How can this Youth and Women Enterprise Development Fund contribute to this building and also economic stability among young people? I understand Florence and Daniel already highlighted that, but we can also hear from your own perspective as well.
Yeah, actually, this is interesting because if you recall, I think around 2021, there was a wave of youth unrest that emerged across the country. I think it was in Torit, where a group of young people started coming out and strongly calling for localization of employment opportunities. I think they were demanding for at least 80% of jobs to be given to young people that are from Torit area. And this also sprung up in, I think it was in Reng, and the young people were having the same kind of demands. And it also came out in Yambio. Young people were coming with the same kind of demands. So it became a national kind of wave, which showed, I think, the disaffection of young people on the status quo. What for me, I draw from that, because I was part of the committee when this issue really became more of a national threat to the peace and security in the country. The president established the high-level committee on youth unrest, and I happened to be one of the committee members who were consulting across the country. Really, what are the driving factors for this kind of violent approach on the issue of, for instance, employment? what we gather from that exercise, of which the report we rendered it to the first vice president, I don't know what action has been taken on the recommendations that were made there, but we draw a long list of issues that young people sort of hold as grievances against the government. There are social issues, there are economic issues, there are political issues, and within political issues, you could talk about the marginalization. Young people do not feel part of the governance in this country, despite the fact that they constitute a recognizable majority. They are not largely reflected within the structures that end up producing outcomes that are not friendly to their well-being. So one of the recommendations is how can we increase youth participation within governance, and we think it's important because young people within governments are able to introduce policies that reflect the reality of young people. They are able to relate with the lived reality of young people, whether it's the poverty, whether it's the lack of educational opportunities. They are much closer to the young people than, say, somebody who's in the 50s, in the 60s, and so on. But also the social issues. We have seen that a lot of young people are turning to, whether it's alcoholism, whether it's the abuse of drugs. We cannot have a society where the future of the country is getting destroyed by these habits. And I think it's important to pay attention to that, because for me, I look at youth as a transition. And if youth is a transition within the 18 and 35 years, what targeted efforts are being made to fully develop our potential? And I think this also comes to the issue of the debate. You know, within the youth space, there's been this huge debate around the limit on the definition of who is a youth. And I mean, to be sympathetic to those who are in their 50s and want to be called as a youth, I think it's because of the missed opportunities they had.
And there's one way they put it. They said senior youth.
There's nothing called senior youth. But from there, if you really look at it objectively, they are yearning for those opportunities which they should have gotten when they're young people. Some have gone to argue and say the conflict did not allow us to enjoy our youth. So I think we do not want to make the same mistake. We really need to allow the young people to develop themselves fully, economically, socially, for them to be very good citizens, good custodians of the future of South Sudan. And if we keep, and our leaders keep repeating this, South Sudan is a land of abundance. It's greatly blessed. There is future. That future cannot be realized without investment into the lives of the young men and women of this country who will carry that future in a few years to come.
Okay.
And just one, just a second. I don't know whether you've been hearing a lot of Shuruba Defense Forces. These are people who are and these are serious young people, but these are the people who call them senior youth. A lot of articles is coming on Facebook. People are sharing articles,
and mostly coming from them.
Coming from young people. They have nothing to do. They're not employed. They don't have opportunities. So the only thing they can do is for a politician to pay them some money. You come online, defend somebody like God. You see, just because you want to, and that's why they call that Shuruba Defense Forces. You want to survive. You want to survive. And it's funny, but it's really sad. It's really sad. It's not happening in other countries. You see, you don't have an objective mind of analyzing issues. You analyze it from the point where you are going to eat from. You see, so there's always it's going to be very biased.
Okay. All right. Our time is 44 minutes past the hour of 4. Yes, listen of iRadio. This is your time to call us on 0911 or 0922 986 986 and ask our guest in the studio your question. Remember, we are looking at youth policies. iRadio. Okay, iRadio. You can still call us back on the same numbers, 0911 or 0922986986. Those who are also following the program on our Facebook live stream, you can drop your questions and comments there, and I'll read them later on before we sign out of the program. Moving on to talk about the Student Support Fund Bill. Florence, so what are the most pressing financial challenges that face students today, and how should this bill respond to them?
Okay, thank you so much for this question. You know, when we're discussing this particular bill, I didn't expect it to receive a lot of popularity, but it seems a lot of people are following what's happening with the young people, especially that whole story of the opportunities in India and
the scholarships.
Yes, the scholarship opportunities. So this particular document is supposed to support young people who cannot who are finding it difficult to study. Yeah, so it's supposed to support them with some cash to pay for their tuition, to pay for accommodation, scholastic materials, and things like that. And I think some years ago, some people benefited from these opportunities, whether be it in private schools or in government opportunity schools. They were receiving some of these funds, and it was supporting them through their education. So this document right now is supposed to do that for the young people, but it's not doing that now, because every time the scholarship opportunities come, there is no law that guides how things are supposed to go. Yeah, so this document is supposed to support that. And also it has a lot of gaps in it, and we try to raise some of them for the Ministry of Higher Education to note down, such that they can a bit change it, whether at the parliamentary level or at the what level?
At the cabinet level as well.
At the cabinet level.
Yeah.
We wanted to adjust it so that we don't have a back and forth as we've been having with the other policy documents. Yeah. So this document is supposed to support young people in private schools and in government to get opportunities to study. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Daniel, I just want to know from you that how can the bill be structured to support students from marginalized communities or conflict-affected areas as well?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I think it's very difficult to structure it in a way that it's just targeting them, because anybody can claim to be vulnerable and say, you know what, and it has been happening. Even the past scholarships that has been given, you find it's the daughters and the sons of the ministers who are getting free scholarships. Instead of offering the scholarships to those who are really very vulnerable, they tend to deny them. You see, so I think it's how the fund is going to be managed. If you get a competent, neutral people who will manage the fund, that's how it's going to be effective. But if you bring somebody who think I want to take the opportunity of this fund to benefit specific or targeted people, that's where the problem come in. But also I think they need to have a very powerful committee, diverse committee, somebody who is not in a political office, somebody who is not appointed. Should be somebody who is vetted, so that people by the parliament, so that you will be neutral and independent in how you discharge this duty. So I think it's a very beautiful bill, and I believe that if really this is implemented, the people who are coming from the villages who don't have access to resources, they cannot go to school, or their parents cannot provide their education needs, I think they can really benefit them. And this is really good for the government, because you bring people from different diverse background and give them the opportunity to study, which is a blessing, than just collecting people, your uncles and all these people, and send them to school. Also, we had, before even this has been implemented, the past scholarships. We understand there are a lot of students who are returned back from the countries that they were sent to, because they're so incompetent they cannot perform. They are sent back. So these are some of the disadvantages of just choosing somebody to benefit from a scholarship. So I think the main thing is the management of the fund, if it is established.
Okay. All right. Lastly, as on the youth and sports bill that Florence, you talked about earlier, you said there is a need for it to be taken back. to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Just Godi, I want to know from you, what infrastructure and policy support do you think are needed to make sports accessible and inclusive for all youth?
I think first is the recognition that young people in South Sudan are at different levels of development, but also young people have different capabilities, and therefore to design a wholly inclusive sports framework in the country, that has to be at the core of the thinking. I think as young South Sudanese, we have seen some sports emerge more popular than others. For instance, the basketball. The basketball team in our country has become like that one pride which unites all South Sudanese across political lines, across tribe and regions. So I think also having targeted investments into those popular sports as a basis to create a core base to sustain it, because simply, for instance, building a basketball court does not translate to young people going to play in that field. There has to be, how do you look at the management? How do you establish a system where you can enroll young people to participate in these sports, but also you can develop some of these young people to translate into stars that gain attraction from, including like the NBA. I think when you have incentives like this one, then you really push the interest among young people, because at the end of the goal, they're saying that there is an opportunity which also fulfills their financial aspirations in the future. But also we say sports is not all about maybe having a financial means out of it. We recognize from an early age that it provides an opportunity to develop the mental wellness of young people. So that is important to integrate early on into our schools and curriculum. But this cannot happen if we continue selling, for instance, the designated playgrounds within our communities. And I think this has become an issue that in every demarcation around Juba or even in other towns in the country, the land that has been allocated for future sports infrastructure end up being grabbed by some powerful people within the government or businessmen. I think our states, our counties, and even the national government need to take a very strong stance against individuals who grab some of these lands that are allocated for future development of sports infrastructure in the country. But also, I think there is an opportunity in public-private partnerships in terms of developing the infrastructure, recognizing that government might not be able to do it on its own, but we have businessmen and women in South Sudan, people who have resources, and they are willing to invest these resources for the development of South Sudan. So how do we bring together the government and these individuals to work together and build stadiums, build running tracks, and different other infrastructure which could facilitate the development of young people within various sports. But I think at the core of it, let's not lose the element of inclusivity. Let's have as many of our young people able to access these facilities. They should not be concentrated in Juba, neither should they be concentrated within the regional capitals of Wau and Malakal. Let's try as much as possible to push them to where majority of young people are living.
Yeah, and just a brief one as well. I think we have narrowed our mind that sport is only basketball and football. Yeah, we have a lot of sports that you need to explore. Because if I'm good at running, athlete, I don't have to sit back and the government is only focusing on football and basketball. We have a lot of sports that we need to explore, and this can really open a huge opportunity for other young people as well. Yes.
Yeah, like for instance, I think recently we now have a rugby club that has been formed in Juba, but that is not a government-led initiative.
It's private.
It's individuals who thought that in South Sudan we're lacking rugby. How can we come together, popularize the sport? And what is good about it is because they had an opportunity to participate in one of the rugby tournaments in Uganda. I think this sets the foundation and even interest from other young people to
join.
Yeah.
And I'd like to tell you my biases that I have in the Youth and Sports Bill. You see, already from the question you're asking, you're having the perception that it is only the youth that participate in sports, which is not true. You see, when we try to define the youth, especially the youth age in South Sudan, because South Sudan is trying to ally to the one that is for the African Union, which is saying 15 to 35, we know many people past 35 also participate in sports. So when you say youth and sports, it's making people think it's only for youth. That is not true. That is why we want it separated.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give each one of you a chance to share their last message because we are left with a few minutes to conclude with the show. Ladies first. I can see you smiling.
I had to go last.
Okay, let's give Daniel the chance.
You see how ladies lose the opportunity.
Opportunity.
You wanted to lead and you're falling back. Anyway, that's fine. All right, thank you. Yeah, it's an honor too. I want Patrick mentioned something, and I want to summarize with it. The public partnerships. We have a lot of companies who are getting millions of dollars from South Sudan. They are not providing the corporate responsibilities. So these companies, they should invest in young people. They should invest in sport. And very few, I've just been seeing MTN and I think MTN mainly supporting our basketball team. What about other companies? We have banks, we have Zain, we have a lot of companies. You see, the government has to come strong and say, you know what? You are getting a lot of money from this country. What is your duty? What is your corporate responsibility to ensure that you invest in young people, invest in sport? Many countries around the world, it is the companies that really support the process. So, Patrick, thanks for bringing that. I think we need to work on that and ensure that they fulfill their obligations of sponsoring some of these sports. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Patrick.
Not the lady?
The lady said she would go last.
Okay. Thank you, Johnson, for hosting us today. I think it's been a very productive engagement among us here, but also with those young people who have not been able to be in the station, but I am very sure they're engaging with us on the social media. I think my parting shots will be, these youth policies, whether it's the National Youth Development Policy or it is the Enterprise Development Fund or it's the Sports and Youth and Sports Bill or even the Student Support Fund, all of these play a complementary role in terms of bringing development to young people. And from a security point of view, also, it does contribute towards enhancing political stability in the country. When you have young people engaged, when you have young people prospering, the prospects of going to armed conflict, the prospect of taking up and becoming behavior within the communities, like what we see here, whether it's robberies, whether it's the young people who are now called the niggers or Torontos, whatever name you try to give them, you minimize that because all of these activities contribute towards destabilizing the political environment and also increasing the threats to security within our communities and overall to the country. So these policies only support the basis for a peaceful and secure South Sudan that whether you are old or young or middle-aged, woman or man, can get to enjoy the true dividends that our forefathers fought for to see a free South Sudan. And we want to see that coming as a reality.
Okay.
And therefore, we strongly support that these policies are enacted. Let us go beyond the aspiration. Let's translate what is exposed within these documents into a reality to set a foundation of prosperity and peace in our country.
Okay, thank you. Yes,
Thank
Florence.
you so much. Yeah, so for me, I think I'd like to send my last message to the government. In their youthful time, they did their best to fight for our country. We have our country today. We thank them so much. What we just want is for them to give us a chance. We want them to pass these policies for us. And to the young people of South Sudan, now that we have a country, let us build it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Florence, Patrick Godian, also Daniel. It was good having three of you on the Zone 72, and we look forward to having more conversations on these youth policies. And I would also love to thank our sign language interpreter, that is Grace Amviko. We meet again next Saturday on another discussion here on the Zone 72.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Information and